Good morning and hello, Friday. Welcome to
And
the
hello,
Big Chat.
Friday. Um,
I'm
it's
Jill.
warm here. Oh, I'm Deb. Deb Hart. That's Jill Johnson Young. And this is Friday Grief Chat, otherwise known as Humor, Grace, and Grief. And I think that is exactly what we're going to be talking about today.
All of it.
Yeah, I just love the little topics you brought up, Jill, and let's talk about Punch.
Little Punch. If you have not met Punch online, just put Punch and Monkey in the Google search or whatever search, and you'll see Punch. And Punch was absolutely not loved by his mama. She rejected him at birth
Mhm.
and hurt him a little. And so
Mhm.
the keepers scooped him up, but they didn't have any new mamas who needed a baby, and nobody in the troop wanted him. And someone gave him an IKEA monkey doll. And that's what Punch carried around.
He did. I mean, talk about
With it.
transference,
Right.
right? And then they introduced him so he at least had a mama for a while.
He
And
did.
and then eventually he got adopted, taken in by another similar kind of monkey. And I've been reading a lot about what people think are loneliness and what aren't, and the way we were raised, and people's desire for being part of a community, people not. Just think about this. And I know Jill and I are pretty similar this way. A lot of people think of us as their moms.
Yes.
And we sort of take them in. However, we also know we're not their bio moms. We are, and
The extra moms.
we're an extra mom, but we're also sometimes, and I've told this story before, my friend got out of therapy and she said to me, I need to ask you a serious question because my therapist brought it up. And she goes, would you be my good enough mom?
Yes.
Because, let's face it, our expectations, what we would like, what we learned that we should have had, all those things, our own parents may or may not have lived up to that. Seriously, may or may not. And, sometimes you just need someone that is, if it's a mom, then maybe you need like a female that projects, and you can see your reflection within that person. That's why, like the monkey, he actually saw little Punch, said, this is my good enough mom. It's not real, but it's important.
And it stays.
And it stayed. So, and then you do see, if you don't have a mom to show up on your wedding day, I'll be your mom, right? Isn't that yes. And that goes for gay, straight, whatever.
Right.
And Jill and I filled those roles.
And for Punch, there's a new monkey now helping to fill that role. But what I want to point out is Punch was lonely and isolated out by his group. And the new monkey is a monkey who was raised alone and on display and never had his or her own people. And the two of them with the stuffed monkey have formed kind of a unit surrounded by the bigger unit, which now accepts them both because they've got each other. And it's so much the dynamic of humans.
Right. Exactly.
After a loss, it is totally the dynamic of human beings after a loss.
And in when talking about grief and when talking about grief, sometimes you just have to say, I'm never going to get what I want. What could be okay? You can't get what you want because they're never going to be those kind of people that you want. Maybe you need to move on. And when I say move on, you always have a certain amount of grief. I can't get what I want, right? But it can transform. And so if there's any hope to be had, if a monkey can do it, you can do it.
Right. It's exactly what it is. If a monkey can, you can. And I did a speaking engagement on our senior center yesterday, talking about loneliness and isolation. And I added to that the isolation that comes from holding ourselves out to be whoever we think other people think we should be, which actually creates almost an existential crisis of nobody really knows who I am. So I'm even more isolated, even when I'm with people who think they know me because they don't know me. Right? And I brought up Punch. And when I asked who had heard about Punch, 3/4 had heard about Punch.
Oh.
And almost everyone went, oh, Punch. And then the few people who had absolutely held out on being willing to even look at a stuffed animal's eyes to see that you can connect with a stuffed animal when you are all by yourself. The eyes they put on stuffed animals grab you.
Yes. And the way they put them on.
And the people who would not acknowledge that Punch had any kind of emotional impact on them, when I handed them a stuffed animal, they literally turned it around and put it on their shoulders so they wouldn't have to look at the eyes and wouldn't have to acknowledge that cuddling something felt good. Right? So it's that self-imposed isolation piece where I just can't trust people enough, which is what Punch's story was. Right? I know I'm going on and on and on, but it's just so much about the loss and the connection.
This week, or maybe I think it was last week, my brother, 3 goats birthed babies, right? Birthed kids. And one of them had a single and 2 twins. One of the twins died, and the other, and one of the singles, one of the others, she rejected. So my brother and the other goats didn't take them in yet, right? Because they were a little young, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, they bring the goat in, hand feed every 2 hours.
Right.
That's what my brother had to do. And then bottle feed it. And now it's up to 4 times a day, which is a lot more doable at night. Much like a regular baby.
Right.
But so my brother and his family are the substitute family, right? And then when they get to go back into the herd, most likely they will be welcomed back into the herd, right? There's some other good enough mom for this little kid. I know that sounds weird, but that's what we call baby goats, right?
Right.
So it's a similar type of assimilation as with Punch, right?
Right.
And while Jill and I have been looking up articles and studying different articles, some people, just the way they were raised, intimacy, vulnerability and sharing of self is a really hard thing to do. And there's many reasons for that. And so they feel more stable when they don't share that vulnerability and that intimacy. And if you ask them if they're lonely, they're not lonely. this is just their way of life. It's like
They're
asking a monk,
self-contained.
do you miss sex? A monk asking if you miss sex, you know, no, really, I've got all this other stuff to do.
Not my
And
repertoire.
yes. And so I find it sort of fascinating as Jill and I prepare for this summer conference, and the things that we're sharing. And another thing this week, I'm sort of switching topics. Part of introducing an angle of humor is doing improv. And so I called up my buddy, Julie Ostro, and I said, can I pay you for a couple 90-minute sessions with you? Right? And I just want to give a shout out to her book, Life is Improv.
It's a great book.
And it is, because, you know, if I say improv, everybody said, oh, Second City. Oh, you know, The Underlings. Oh, Saturday Night Live, and all these things. And yes, that is crafted to use many types of humor. They still have to memorize lines. And really, I think the most improv part of Second City, of Saturday Night Live, is you got to be real flexible with your heart and ego, because a lot of your stuff gets cut. You have to just be really flexible up to the last minute. And even on the show, flexibility. And improv is about flexibility with humor.
Right.
And life is improv. I mean,
yes, it is. I'm going to go improv Zorro. I'll be right back.
Oh, sure.
I'm listening.
And so, and you know, just by a show of hands, or anybody wants to jump in, how many have a day where everything goes exactly as you want it to go? And when you do, that's what we call a miracle.
Oh, yeah.
You know, have you ever, it started out real sunny, and then all of a sudden, you didn't bring an umbrella. The forecaster said, hey, it's going to be a great day. And you know, you get to the office, you're in the car, and you get up to your office. Your car is parked 2 blocks away, and you didn't even have to pay the meter or whatever you pay. You had a free parking spot. It's a great day. And then the sun goes away and the clouds let loose, and all you have is a black trash bag, and not even the big kind, the kind that fit in your tiny little wastebasket.
That's right.
And you go, it's not a great day now. Right? So, I mean, really, life is improv, just like Julie says. And and how many have said, I'm never getting married? How many have said, I'm never getting married again? How many have said, I can't wait to get married? I got this big dream happening here. Either way, you got to make up some other stuff, and it's not anyone's fault. It's only your own fault when you keep complaining about it and you haven't gotten to that next level of acceptance,
right,
and integration. That's a hard place to go. So anyway, that's my story of improv and that. And one more thing, I thought about if everybody had to make up crazy epitaph on their tombstone, on their headstone. I decided today mine would say, I guess therapy's over. Or I guess I'm done with therapy.
Mine might say she finally retired.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So what else is happening? We were going to talk about were we Olympics? Did that finish, or that finished last week? No, that finished Saturday.
That finished Saturday.
And the joys and the lows, the highs and the lows of that.
And now the Paralympics are on.
Yes. I encourage everybody to watch that. One of my friends worked with the Paralympic team, and I think she still does something where she has to meet with this big committee. Yeah, she's from Champaign-Urbana. Well, originally I think Alabama or something, but yeah. You know, I'm thinking about those highs and lows, and I'm thinking about how fast you can get attached to even a medal. And I'll tell you why. I read she was the ice skater with the colored hair. I mean, like layered hair.
An individual.
Say again.
The one who took gold in individual.
Right. Well, she dropped it when she was showing it off or whatever she was doing, and it got all dented and scratched.
Yeah.
And so they said, oh, we're going to take that and give you a new one. She goes, can't I keep this one? This is like worked in. This is the one I want. And they said, no, we have to give you a new one. And she was like disappointed and sad and attached.
Because that was the one she'd taken. Yes. Right. And it did cause grief and anxiety and stress. Yes.
And, you know, I just find it very interesting how fast we can get attached to something or reject it. Like you were talking about the people with the stuffed animal, right? In your class, or Punch the monkey transitioned, right? I mean, I don't know how long it take. Maybe we're only hearing part of the story, but I just find it very interesting, right?
You know, what I found was part of what I did in that group was I brought in 2 flats of tomato plants and a couple of pony packs of flowers and some potting soil and some just plastic cups and to do an activity, because part of the message was when there is loneliness, when there is isolation, you can do things by yourself and you can do things to create groups and you can find connections and you can stay healthy. And for me, the gardening piece is all of that, because when you get your hands in soil, we know that actually creates oxytocin and it reduces stress and anxiety. And we know it's good for our brains. And so I was encouraging folks to, you know, plant their tomatoes or their flowers and pick one that they liked. And they created new connections at the center because the gardeners didn't know who the other gardeners were. And you could tell who the other gardeners were. And then they started helping the non-gardeners. And then they were petting their tomato plants, and I was encouraging them to talk to them every day. And I used myself as the example. I just put in some new rose bushes and I go out in the morning and talk to them and hope that they have a good day outside, right? And I've got my garden going for the spring already because it's going to be 92 degrees here today.
You know, that's what I heard from another Californian friend.
Yeah. We like warm. This is unseasonal, but the plants are enjoying it. And our sycamore tree is going crazy. But it meant that everybody could connect. And then as I was leaving, they were showing their tomato plants to people who hadn't come to the group. And other people were like, I wanted a tomato. I didn't know we could garden here. It's that connection that a living thing
Mm-hmm.
creates. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those folks, probably 80%, had had a
Mm-hmm.
major loss in the last 2 years. Some of them multiple. One was moving into new senior housing today. And so she has now, she said, "Could I have a flower and a tomato?" And I said,
Oh,
"Absolutely." And then she said, "I've got a new window. I can put them in a patio where I'm going. So now I have my first garden ready to go." And that's the thing that creates that community, that connection,
mm-hmm.
reduces the isolation.
And also, it's sort of, I, it sort of brings together the two edges of change, right?
Yes,
There's the grief of leaving, and there's the grief, not grief, but the fear of
of the
change, what's
new.
going to happen. And then it sort of just brings them together. Part of her that, you know, enjoys flowers, enjoys gardening, can barely touch. It's still going to take a while to integrate that. I
Right.
I want to talk about, did you know that in this, I learned a long time ago in nursing, that if you were to have two kinds of cuts, so basically there's two. There's the kind that rip apart, and it's like if you were cut by a saw.
Ick.
If you were cut by a real sharp knife or a paper cut,
That's slice.
it's a slice. And actually, the one that is the jagged edge actually can heal quicker than the one that's the slice. That they have to sew, of course, the slice and maybe even the jagged edge. But the little fibers inside your skin, actual fibers, they connect faster and heal differently. Isn't
Yes,
that interesting?
it is.
And so, you know, people might think, oh, the worst thing that happened to them was uh, their mother got killed somehow. So that's a trauma, and it's like a ripping apart. But then slow slicing, I know this probably sounds gross to people, but the metaphor is the slow slicing of cutting someone out of your life daily, like a mom and their child. That takes longer to heal, right?
Right.
I'm not saying this in every case, but think about in terms of wounds, because everybody's fallen down and scraped their knee. That's one that heals up pretty fast, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
It does. And it has more surface area, but the surface area grabs back together.
Yes.
Which is also
Yeah.
why community can be helpful when someone
Right.
is having a loss. They need to pull their community together, and
Mm-hmm.
they need to have a receptive community.
And guess what? To do improv, how do you do it by yourself? Improv is about community. Improv is about playing with others, right?
Yes. And
You need
connecting
that.
to what they have in their story, even though you don't know their story, you know enough about everybody's story to know that there's commonality to some degree.
Or because there's really not too many mistakes in improv, when you play the story time, and maybe you've done that with kids before, I know I have. Story time is, why don't we start a story and then the next person goes, and, or the last person goes, and then the next person has to tell more of the story. And it gets more and more ridiculous.
It
So
does. And somebody
it's
draws a picture to go with each of them. Yes.
exactly. Wow. What else do we have on our agenda?
Well, you've
People are
been busy
making
taking me.
Hamantaschen, and
Oh,
I'm
are they?
dying.
Is it time?
Oh, yeah, it is. It's Purim. I think it's March 1st or right around there. Steve, who is often on our show, he has his stuff going. Gluten-free is wonderful. And then I found, and I keep sending them to people, all these different kinds of, oh, there's Steve. What's he say? Yeah.
It takes time for wounds to heal. Having a good support system helps to make the process more comforting. He also said it's time for it's Hamadashim time.
Oh, yeah.
And our neighbors 2 doors down are right now in the middle of Ramadan. So every evening the street fills with cars because people are coming to break the fast together.
Right.
Which is it's fun. It is amazing to see how many people pull together to be able to celebrate. Especially, I would celebrate too if I had gone without eating every day for 30 days.
Well, they don't eat from sunup to sundown.
Right.
And at least here in the States, you're going to be leaping forward. So I think it goes back. Is it more dark for a little bit, or I just don't remember.
Forward.
In spring, you spring forward, right? So, in any
a little
case,
darker in the morning and a little lighter in the evening.
That's it. Yeah.
Which is what we all go. Oh, the sun is still up at 5 o'clock.
And then you go, oh, I want to go to bed right now.
Yes.
Are you sure it's that time? Oh my gosh. Well, this coming up in March, aren't we having Sherry Buell again? Because we loved her book so much. So we're going to have her. I did not get a hold of ADEC. ADEC is this weekend. I didn't get a hold of anybody with ADEC. And then let's see, what else are we doing? Well, who knows what's going to happen in the news that we have to talk about.
We have a whole week for things to happen, right? And we've got lots of news bites and lots of things going on. So shout out to those that we are caring about and you are caring about who are facing hard times. And one of the things I talked about was yesterday was just, you can't assume how someone is feeling internally. If they have only one person or they have 10 people, don't assume loneliness, don't assume sadness, but also don't assume they're okay. Check in. Do the check-in. Like we did during COVID. Remember the check-ins? Remember the going out in front and people driving past and waving and not being scary stalkers, just being nice?
Right? Exactly. So I appreciate sort of team tagging with a couple girlfriends of mine, because when they're going through stuff, they check in on I check in on them, and then vice versa. So they've all been saying, how are you doing? And if you don't say how you're doing, just send a little emoji, say, I'm thinking about you.
And circle back.
Yeah, that's just the best. So until next week, there you go.
Right.
Here we are, and there you go.
And he says he's very sorry for barking, everyone, but he just needed his person. And now he's all out.
I know. And a special shout out to all our viewers and all the people that we have spoken to in person and will be speaking in person, because we're trying out new material. It's sort of like comics on Saturday nights. I mean, on not Saturday nights. Comics when they are on like late night talk TV, and they're trying out material because they're going to use it someplace else, and they weave it in the story. So, thank you all for being our guinea pigs. And if you're not a guinea pig, you are a really kind human. Thank you.
Absolutely. Shabbat Shalom for those who celebrate on Friday and Saturday. Have a wonderful weekend. To everyone else, happy March on Sunday, and Happy Social Work Month. It's coming up. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Celebrating. It's the only thing we celebrate social workers for. We get 1 month a year. We don't get pay raises, but we get Social Work Month.
Like nurses, really.
Right. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Bye, everyone.